The bug type is regarded by many as their favorite typing. It wasn't always like this though, due to the lack of good bugs in the Pokemon universe. And most bugs we did have back in the day were just not that great. But that changed, I'd say, from Generation 5 and on, as cooler bugs were being created and even better movesets and stats came to the type, making people love these little critters more with each generation. Now in every Pokemon game, I'd say there's a regional bug, and in most of these games it's found on one of the earlier routes, which I guess ties back into why they were so weak in the first place, being an earlier game mon. So how fast does it actually take to get your hands on one of these gorgeous little guys? Well, that's not what I wanted, but needed to find out, for no apparent reason. This is totally pointless. Regardless, we start off in Pokemon Red, where we name ourselves Bug and our rival Fire, since, well, that kills bugs. We do our usual thing, like not saying good morning to mom, trying to get our first bug before getting stopped by the professor, and choosing our starter, which none happen to be Bug. From here we fight Fire, and unfortunately due to a bunch of misses, and just the fact that the Squirtle I chose is complete dog shit, we end up wasting a lot of time here. 4 minutes in, and I'm not even out of the professor's lab. Anyways, now we can head up to Route 1 into Viridian City, grab the parcel, bring it back to Oak, where he will gladly give us some Pokeball. Okay, maybe not. I guess no one gives us Pokeballs in Red, so we have to go back to the mart to buy them ourselves. Now in Pokemon Red and Blue, the first route that holds a bug type is actually Route 2, with Weedle and Caterpie, both of which have a 15% of encountering depending on your version. However, I looked up Fire Red by mistake, so I thought it was 5%, which led me to walk past Route 2 into Viridian Forest, which is mainly bug types. And here, since we're playing Pokemon Red, gives us a 40% chance for Kakuna and a 45% chance of encountering Weedle. This would be safer, as it's pretty likely you're gonna get the bug type no matter what. But now I'm thinking if I research properly that Route 2 might be faster, since this Kakuna did not want to get into the ball. It stayed in on the 4th Pokeball, wasting a whole minute of time. Regardless, we caught our first bug type at 9 minutes and 27 seconds. Pretty fast. Moving on to Gold and Silver, the first bug we can catch would be the same exact bug, Weedle and or Caterpie and their mid-stagers. But we can also get a Spinarak or Ladybug depending on version and time of day, since they added those to Gen 2. The best way to do this would be in the morning, playing Pokemon Silver, as bugs occupy 90% of what you can encounter with a 10% chance of a Pidgey. In contrast, Gold's extra bug is Spinarak, which is found at night, which removes any chance of Weedle spawning. Now, I was just playing the game normally, and none of this ended up mattering, but worth mentioning. Man, they were even milking Charizard way back when. Anyways, we start off and we can actually pick the time, which is helpful if you're playing Silver, but we're not, so we continue, and Mom actually cares about us in this game. There's no Lyra's Marrow bumping into us, which reminds me, I won't be doing the remakes as they're pretty similar aside from how fast the game plays, and in some instances, the running shoes. And also, I'm playing this like I would normally. I'm not speedrunning it. This is how fast you can get a bug type as if you were just a kid playing it. So I'd recommend, if you want to watch something a little more intricate using some speedrunning references, go check out Sema. His videos are amazing. I, on the other hand, am just doing this for shits and giggles. So anyways, we choose Totodile, head to Cherry Grove, and end up on Route 30, find a Metapod, which unfortunately I can't catch yet due to not having balls, and finally make it to the dialogue that makes me dread starting up a new save in Pokemon Gold and Silver. Shut up, you two! From here we head back down, not encountering a single Pokemon, and fighting our rival Fire. Again, our water starter absolutely blows in his attack stat, but thanks to a berry and a crit, we managed to prevail. Now we just go back to the professor, give the officer Fire's name, and be on our merry way to this guy, who shows you how to catch Pokemon. Which he asks you if you want him to show you how to catch Pokemon, but I don't know if I can actually say no to avoid this. I didn't try it. Regardless, we go to Cherry Grove once more, and up into Route 30, where a bunch of bugs are waiting for me. And oddly enough, on the first patch of grass, we catch the other hard-shelled Pokemon, who has a 10% chance of encountering. I do damage it a bit since I don't want a repeat of Kakuna, and he still broke out, but luckily after some more tackles, at 13 minutes and 55 seconds, we have our second bug type of the run. Not too bad considering all that walking we had to do. Up next is Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and this time our only option for bugs is Wurmple. At least that's our only option to catch a bug fast. Wurmple has a 45% chance to be found on the very first route, and this is across all 3 games. So we start our journey off in the back of a moving van, go meet our neighbor who probably has more loving parents than I do, and I actually do save her father from a wild wolf. I choose Mudkip because he's a good boy, and sometime later head up to Route 103, where May is staring at a tree. We battle her at the 5-minute mark, and we finally have good damaging Pokemon to where the battle doesn't last an insane amount of time. And from here we can head back down to talk to the professor once more, and Mom will give us running shoes, which to be honest we don't really need since, like I said, Wurmple is on the first route. So I sprint 20 feet, step in the grass, and here's our beautiful worm. We finally get an easier bug to catch, and this is our lowest time so far at 7 minutes and 36 seconds. Pretty easy. Also, I'm going to start reading these dex entries. Using the spikes on its rear end, Wurmple peels the bark off trees and feeds on the sap that oozes out. Did you like my Pokedex voice? It was pretty bad, I know. Pretty cool, but I didn't realize that there's a page too where it says he has suction pads that allows it to stick on glass. So he's Spider-Man? Or Spider-Worm. Alright, up next is Generation 4, and this game just runs way worse, being much slower as we're no longer at the 6 FPS from Generation 3. After some classic thudding, we go over to Route 101 to meet with Fire, where we lead the way to the lake. After some eavesdropping, we basically just steal their Pokemon to save ourselves and choose Turtwig because just like Mudkip, he's a good boy. Now we just defeat these Starly, talk to these two to apologize, and go back to Mom, where the running shoes do come into play here as we got a lot of running to do. I do run into some encounters, no bugs though, and make it to Rowan's lab, where we have no choice but to carry out research for him. But it'll all be worth it if we can get our bug type. Speaking of which, our bug in this game is the regional bug Kricketot, which is horrible, but he has an iconic cry and mustache, so you can't really hate him. Now, Kricketot is found on the route just above Sandgem Town, and you may be thinking, why not just play Platinum as Kricketot is on the route before? And the answer is, it doesn't matter which game we play, since we get Pokeballs on the route after Sandgem, meaning all we have to do is just walk right in, and boom, there's our Kricketot. If we got Pokeballs from Mom, then Platinum would be the play, as it would be faster, however, that's not the case. Now, I have no idea which game is faster to get to the catching tutorial, as they do start off a bit differently, but I'd still imagine it's pretty similar. Anyways, Kricketot is caught at 14 minutes and 35 seconds, our longest time to catch a bug yet. But this was all about to change, as next up was Generation 5. Now, I will be playing both of these games, meaning base Black and White and the sequels, because they start out completely different. Based on everything we've done up until this point, you'd think catching a bug would be pretty similar in these games, but no. We have a long journey to go before we can even see a bug type in this game. This game is very different, having any chance of getting a critter out the window until after the second gym. And I assume this is because the first gym leader you face is based on the starter you choose, and so a bug type would cruise through Silent, even though they literally give you an elemental monkey to deal with. Now, having it locked until after the second gym is pretty brutal, and again, most bugs are early game Pokemon, and at that point, the bug isn't really that useful. At least not as useful as it would be for the first two gyms. In this game, we have two options for bugs, that being Venipede and Suwaddle. Great 3-stage bugs, and this is where the bug type started to assert dominance. Anyways, we start our journey off a little differently, fighting Bianca and Cheren while trashing my room at the same time. Well, I was complaining that I always had to go to their houses, so I guess this is what I get. Now, I don't play this game as much anymore, as we're limited to the Gen 5 decks in Black and White, but man, do I not remember there being so much dialogue to skim through. Basically, we go to the professor's lab to get a Pokedex. Mom not only cares about me this time, but my friends as well, and we head off to Route 1 to complete the catching tutorial. Which sucks, because by the time I get this pug, I would have forgotten how to catch Pokemon. Anyways, we head up to Aspertia City, where we do some tutorial stuff in the Pokemon Center. Then we hear a ruckus outside dealing with Team Plasma, and honestly, this is just what an evil team should be. And I don't understand why we don't get them anymore. This was peak. And this is not. Also, Ghetsis is like a really good boss. Look how they just form around him. Really shows how much of a leader he is and how much control he has over this group of troubled individuals. Speaking of which, the greatest character of all of Pokemon decides to battle us, and thankfully we didn't lose. Which, why would we? Tepig is awesome. We finished this battle at 14 minutes, which is already longer than Gen 4. From here we head to Route 2, where I made a pretty big mistake. See, I didn't catch Lillipup, as I'm not using any speedrunning methods. Right, I'm just playing for fun, like you casually would if you wanted a bug type. But man, I really should have grabbed that stinking dog, because that thing is really needed. It evolves right away and has stab takedown. I mean, the thing's a beast, and not catching it wasted an absurd amount of time. Regardless, I carried on. Battled Bianca once more, which by the way I nearly lost as I didn't heal from a previous fight, but thankfully her AI isn't like Cheren's and just used Leer. Moving on, I arrived in Striaton City, but before we can get our first gym badge, I have to go grab Pansage, as again, I didn't catch Lillipup. So after we burn all these trainers to a crisp and have our elemental monkey, we now backtrack to take on Cheren, and with Pansage this wasn't too hard, but again, Lillipup with stab is just great. Now we can finally take on the first gym. We do have to fight some more trainers, but it is what it is. Since I chose Tepig, we have to fight Cress. This was already going bad as Tepig is slower, Bite flinches, and well, we don't have our Lillipup of our own. Either way, thanks to Blaze, we knock it out from where it's at, and Panpour comes in, which scared me as it just kept working up. I was tail whipping and eventually got a nice tackle off, but Tepig did go down. But with those defense drops and us being resisted to Water Gun, everything went smoothly. After this, we did have to do some annoying side quests with Munna and Team Plasma, and that took about 5 minutes. Once that's done, we truck on to another frickin' rival battle, jeez. And I'll say once more, if I just had a Lillipup, cause god this Pansage sucks. After 3 minutes of fighting Cheren, we fight Team Plasma once more, well, twice, and successfully dodge every trainer on Route 3, which finally, after 50 minutes, leads us to Nacrene City, where that second badge is and very close to where our bug is. Our bugs are in Pinwheel Forest, but if you don't know, we can't go in there until we defeat Lenora as Team Plasma is blocking it, which is just annoying. Anyways, N decides to battle us once more to hear our Pokemon or whatever, and it wasn't a hard fight, just long. Now I did level up Tepig to level 17 as this not only evolves him but gives him Arm Thrust, which without it, I'd probably lose to Lenora. For the billionth time, it's crazy how Herdier is so dominant in a speedrun of this game. That took another 5 minutes and then another 5 to battle Lenora. Thankfully with Pignite, this was super easy and we got our second gym badge finally at 1 hour and 11 minutes. I think world record does this in about 41 minutes. Granted, I don't have battle animations off, but still, this fat pig isn't exactly helping either. From here we have to sift through a bunch of dialogue and finally we get access to the inside of Pinwheel Forest, where Sewaddle has a 35% chance of encountering and Venipede 15. But first, a double battle and then a Plasma Grunt. For the love of God, just give me my bug! And to make matters worse, I ran into 5 Cottonies before seeing our beautiful Sewaddle. I don't think I've ever been happier to see a bug in my life. It was long waited, but at 1 hour and 18 minutes, Sewaddle was finally ours. Someone kill me. Leavanny dresses it in clothes they made for it when it hatched. That's actually kind of cute, not gonna lie. Now thankfully the sequels did not make us wait so long for a bug type. In Black and White 2, we start out on the left side of the map super far away from Pinwheel Forest, but our Sewaddle this time can actually be found on one of the earlier routes. There's still a ton of dialogue to read, but I don't feel it's as bad as the base ones. We say hi to our new rival Fire and immediately just go up these steps to get our starter. From there we fight Fire with, well, Fire, and then it's just a matter of doing tutorial stuff up until talking to the previous champion, Alder. Sorry, is that spoilers? And we're pretty much minutes away from our bug type, as all we have to do is cut through Flussy Town to Route 20. And we can now catch... oh, there's a battle we need to take care of. Okay, well, surely that's it. Nope. One more. Well, that's annoying, but I can't really complain after the previous entry. Anyways, now we just have to step into the tall grass, and there she is, on the first try. A Sewaddle in 13 minutes and a half. And they even updated the Pokedex. Apparently it's a popular mascot for fashion designers. Must be good in beauty contests. Moving on, we can finally get to the 3D era of Pokemon games, and this is where things get a little bit slower thanks to cutscenes. The intro's not insanely long in this one, but later titles will be. All we have to do in X and Y is get dressed, walk out the door, pass this pathetic excuse for a route, and proceed to button mash our way through this annoying dialogue. I don't care what you guys call me as long as I get my bug. After getting our starter, we just fight Shauna, who has the weaker starter, go back home, and say goodbye to Rhyhorn. Poor Rhyhorn. This thing needs to be free in the wild, not cooped up here. Anyways, from here all we need to do is do the catching tutorial, and that's it. We just step in the grass and... okay, maybe not. There are 3 bug types found on Route 2. Caterpie, or Weedle depending on the version, and the regional bug, Scatterbug. The first 2 have an 11% chance of encountering, while Scatterbug has a 20% chance of encountering. But even with this 31% chance of encountering a bug, it still took me 2 minutes of running around to find what we were looking for. At 11 minutes and 31 seconds, we have our bug. When under attack from a bird Pokemon, it spews a poisonous black powder that causes paralysis on contact. Well then, why isn't it a poison type? Alright, so Pokemon Sun and Moon is up next, and I really don't feel like going through Sun and Moon, so I just did the sequels, which will have a faster time. The time it takes to just see my character is literally just under 4 minutes. That should have told you everything you need to know about this game. From here we just need to talk to Mom, get dressed, and go up the route to get our starter. This takes half the time to get a starter than in Sun and Moon, as we saw in my How Fast Can You Get a Starter video. I chose Litten because he's adorable, and although we do run into grass right away, we don't have Pokeballs, so I'm assuming there's no way to catch anything until saving Lily. But first I had to battle Hau, who wasn't too hard, but they never gave our rival the better type matchup from these games and onward. Kind of dumb in my opinion, but what can we do? With Hau defeated, we go snoop around in Mahalo Trail where we find Lily and Cosmog being attacked by Spearows. And this part is brutal, since you have to just mash A and go through like 3 cutscenes. I mean, even when we're done with the whole thing and want to leave, Lily just stops you. Like, enough talk, man, let's just leave. And to make it worse, Hala is walking like a turtle with a stick in its ass. And again, when this is all done, we try to leave, but no, Hau has to stir up the conversation once more. Anyways, we return home at 19 minutes, and we go to bed, only to be woken up to some more dialogue. I mean, you could have at least knocked. But I can't be too mad at Kukui because today he's going to teach us how to catch Pokemon. Specifically, a Grubbin, which I would love. And thankfully, on our first try, that's exactly what we find. In Ultra Sun and Moon, Caterpie could also be found with a 10% chance, and Ladybug and Spinarak, depending on the time of day, with a 20% chance. Grubbin was 15. And in this game, just like X and Y, Route 1 is a 100% catch rate, meaning we don't have to damage him and he gets in his Pokeball no problem at 22 minutes and 24 seconds. It spits a sticky thread to stop opponents in their tracks, and then it grabs them with its sharp and sturdy mandibles to take them down. As much as I'd love to believe that, there's no way he's doing that to any Steel type. Alright, Sword and Shield is up next, and in these games, our first bug type is found on Route 1, which is super close to where we start out. We do have to go through this huge chunk of cutscene for the intro, but in no time, we're picking our starters. We go through this cutscene with them, choose Sobble, do some more cutscenes, and battle Hop, which is actually the longest first battle ever, since he not only has his starter, but Wooloo as well. Now, I did forget that we have to do this side thing before leaving, and we run into so many encounters here. And I don't think it's by chance either. I think these guys bother you every single time no matter what. Anyways, once that's done, we do try to fight Zacian, realize he has Ultra Instinct, pass out, do another cutscene, and finally we can leave. Oh, come on! I'll say goodbye to my mom after I catch my bug. Now, I'm not too sure who gives you Pokeballs in this game, as I didn't have them before Zacian, but I have them for the bug encounter. Caterpie has a 15% chance of encountering, the regional bug Blipbug has a 30% chance of encountering, but of course, Grubs here has a 10% chance of encountering. I guess we got lucky. Oh, and no bugs spawn in the overworld on Route 1, so it had to be the hidden encounter. 18 minutes and 27 seconds. Honestly, I thought it would have been faster than that. Also, since we don't have a Pokedex yet, I couldn't check its dex entry in these games. Now, Legends Arceus isn't a traditional Pokemon game. By the way, shoutouts to Legends Z. I'm super excited and I hope you guys are as well. But I just included it since it is mainline. Now, we got a lot to do before we can run into Wurmple, which is the closest bug I can get after getting access to freely explore. Again, just a lot of going through the story in the beginning. We fall out of the sky, we find the iPhone 15, catch all 3 starters, and finally enter the town at around 8 minutes. From here, the game just kind of goes slow, showing you around. We can't even run since Lavington is walking in front of us as our tour guide. Then we meet some characters, some welcoming and some not so welcoming. At least they gave me an apartment to live in. Then we get a cutscene, go to the Survey Core, and in order to do any catching of bug types, we're tasked with doing a catching of 3 itty-bitty Pokemon. And before that, we grab our starter and head outside to fight Volo. Now we can finally exit the town where Akari shows us how to catch Pokemon. Kind of, I mean, we just show her what we can do. This takes around 3 minutes to catch Bidoof, Starly, and Shinx before we're met with even more dialogue. Yeah, this game has a really slow start. With all that done, we've essentially impressed everyone in the village because those things were such dangerous Pokemon, and we get dressed for our new job. We go back to the Survey Corps building, this time to meet Professor Kamado, who just casually throws us across the room, regardless if we're a boy or a girl. He really does not care. He's just different. After getting tossed like a ragdoll and possibly having a concussion, we're still not done as now we have to craft Pokeballs while already having them in my inventory. And with that, at 32 minutes, we can finally roam free in the Obsidian Fieldlands, where I can go west to find this calm, at peace with the world, Wurmple. You shall now stay in this Pokeball lost in this save file forever, with no chance of escape. Alright, the most recent entry in the mainline games, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'd assume this one would be pretty quick, as all we have to do is sit through this long cutscene, which lasted 4 minutes, but from there we just talk to our mom, which by the way, I didn't know she changed her hair color based on the type of hair we have. I'm assuming she changes her skin color as well, according to ours. Now we go get dressed while mom and the professor are talking, and then go outside where Clavel shows us these guys. None of them are bugs, so get them out of my face. Walking down the path, we eventually meet Nemona and choose Quaxly, who will also be stuck in this save file for an eternity. Unfortunately, we're not there just yet, as we do have to battle Nemona, but from there it's a quick walk to Route 1 where we are forced to catch this Lechonk. I think you can kill it too, but I forget. But yeah, now we just walk a little bit to the right where this Tarantula is just patiently waiting for me. A little over 20 minutes to catch a bug in this game, but it wasn't horrible. The thread it secretes from its rear is as strong as wire. Well, that's a little odd, as I don't remember you holding the team together the last time I used you. Anyways, that's how fast you can get a bug type in every single Pokemon game. Here's the list if you so desire, and as always, do what you must with this information. Some of our times could be a bit better with battle animations off or using some speedrunning methods, but if you were just playing casually, that's around the time it would take you. I love bug types.